and welcome along. Of course, you are joining us live here at Sports Tonight Live, and it is the Tuesday Football Night Roundup. Now in the hot seat, if you've been keeping up on Twitter, it is birthday boy Blasco. How you doing?
Feeling old.
Looking it too. Hi Rob, how are you doing? Joining us again for the second time.
Yes, I'm hi. Hi, how are you?
I'm good, I'm good. And Dave, yeah, he's taken up Sam's role as the resident person who sleeps here. How you doing?
I've enjoyed the rugby show, now onto football.
Yeah, we can't keep him away. So let's get straight down to it. We've got a lot to get in the next hour or so. We will keep you live and up to date with the scores. Can you believe it? Leicester have scored. QPR are up as well. Who'd have thought we'd see that? So anyway, we'll get on to that in a minute. But the first topic to start with is the TV rights. So just to give you an idea, if you haven't heard, but you probably have, it's been a record-breaking deal this year. More money has been spent than ever before on TV rights. Now, Sky have bought the most, but BT Sport are a close second. I mean, the money, Rob, is getting just insane, isn't it?
Nearly 5 billion now, isn't it?
Nearly
Nearly 10 billion a game.
And you know what? They've estimated that it will go up at 1.4 billion in 2016, 2017. I mean, it's getting out of control, isn't it?
You'd like to see it be passed down to the fans at some point.
Would you?
Or you'd like to see as if...
How would you take your cheque?
How'd I take... All in the post. Yeah, but you'd like to think that it'd be passed on down to the fans in terms of ticket prices, travel, those sort of things, but it never seems to happen.
It's funny because, like, I think I watched as well, there's going to be Friday night football introduced, which was traditionally always League One, League Two, Championship, which is now going to take the shine off the lower leagues, which is where the football is meant to be growing and reinvesting into the main league. So it is money. At least there's some exciting transfer or money news to talk about at the moment.
I mean, I see Match of the Day have also regained the highlights, haven't they?
Yep, they have.
They've paid in a higher amount because I think ITV had tried to put a bid in.
Yeah.
But let's look at this from a fan's point of view. Are BT going to be able to keep free subscribers?
They're not.
From
Champions League games aren't going to be. Champions League games
they're going to charge their fans more. So that means, right, I've got Sky, I'm now going to have to pay for BT Sport.
I think that's the problem, isn't it? I mean, obviously, it's great. There is different platforms for us all to view the football on, but there is a point where you've got to pay for so much now. When did football, because football is a fan sport, without the fans it doesn't exist, and it's kind of getting to a state where it's really just a business for those at the top end that are making the money.
Mean, the Discovery Channel group, which is part of Eurosport,
yeah, indeed.
They were looking at potentially buying one of the packages.
Well, actually, they were really pitching for one of the packages, and I think they've obviously been outpriced.
Al Jazeera as well.
Yeah.
But, being one or being Sport or whatever they're called. Imagine all those channels and all getting a package each.
It's inevitable that's probably going to what's happening
If they bought all the packages each, then the average fan then has to purchase all 5 of them. And
to watch every game.
To watch every game.
That won't happen.
Well, the thing is, that's what it is.
I don't think that will happen, but I think you are pointing out a situation that could potentially
Really? Do you think it's not going to happen?
No, I don't think you'll see like 5 different networks get it, but you are pointing out that, yeah, as Al Jazeera grow, beIN Sport, which is their offshoot sports channel, grow, you are going to start to see them able to pitch for football shows, football games that perhaps, you know, they will get to show, and you will have to subscribe or purchase or have some kind of platform to watch those on.
That's always been the case with Sky Sports. So.
But it was on one before.
Yeah,
if it goes on to 3 or 4...
But it's always been like that, though. You've always had to pay for it, and the talk about that's why the money's growing, because there's a demand for it, and people.
So let's just have a look at this official statement. It says the deal eclipses the current UK rights deal, which totaled $3 billion. So last season saw records of attendance in the highest top-flight games, and crowds were higher than they've seen since 1949. So it actually shows that perhaps fans are actually going to the games more now than sitting at home watching them, because attendance has really grown in the last 20 years or so.
They've had to. I mean, I remember, obviously, I support a League Two team, AFC Wimbledon, and ticket prices are pretty. I think they're pretty decent for a family or small team, but you start looking at, I think, Chelsea, Tottenham in the Carling Cup final, and tickets are minimum £100, and it's going to be televised on Sky Sports. So what would you pay for? 50 quid for a whole month's worth of Sky Sports, or 9 quid, or whatever it is for a week now, or go and pay 100 quid? It's just stupid.
Yeah, it is. It's certainly crazy. Well, anyway, that is pretty much what our thoughts are on the TV rights situation. But we've got a lot to get through, so let's move on to the next topic, which is Brentford. Brentford have today issued a statement about their manager, Mark Warburton. Now, it looks like Brentford may get into the Premier League. I mean, that's obviously speculation. They've still got a lot of work to do. They may not, but the point is they've issued a statement saying that they are looking around. They are a club that continues to look to the future. And I mean, basically it sort of implies that there is potential to sack him at the end of the season. I mean, that's baffling, isn't it?
I mean, every team has aspirations of getting to the top level or playing at the highest level possible, but to come out with a statement like that and pretty much put your manager or your staff or your team in such a negative...
It's quite uncomfortable, isn't it?
At this particular moment as well.
Yeah.
This is a bit strange.
OK, so Brentford say that he will continue in his position, but they have been looking at other alternatives. And despite confirming his status as the manager for the next couple of months, obviously, they're saying that he has increased profile and may turn heads of other clubs. I mean, do you simply think that it's a fact that other clubs may be looking at him?
It'd be interesting to see what sort of contracts he's on. Is he on a rolling year contract, or is his?
I think he is actually. If I am right,
he could be nearing the ends. And then that might be the reason why the clubs...
But you wouldn't... I mean, if it's public knowledge, then fine. But to kind of put that much pressure, especially, as you say, this time of the season, when we're not too far away from the end of season, then you don't want to be putting unnecessary pressure if they've got a good morale going.
Well, he's won 33 of the last 59 games. That's a big deal for a manager.
For them, they should be saying, let's not talk about this. Let's look at getting him on a full-time basis.
See, there you go. He's on a rolling one-year deal, so I suppose they are looking...
It's rolling contract. They need to get rid of... Almost they could get rid of him. You didn't get us promoted. You can see what you've done with our squad. We'll get someone in who might have that experience, like a Steve Bruce.
Yep.
Heard it here first. Heard it, Steve Bruce. He's got a good reputation. Invested a bit of money.
I think that's how it's going to go, though, because you've seen the likes of the Fergusons and the Wengers, like long-term successes at their clubs. But just as normal working life dictates, you need a temporary fix. Why would you hire someone for 3 years where it takes time to build? Just get someone in on a rolling contract. If it doesn't work, get someone else.
It does make sense logically for a manager, but I don't think it instills that amount of faith and belief and confidence in a club. Now, let's just have a look at the scores quickly. Arsenal are 2-1 up against Leicester. Hull have just gone 2-0 up against Aston Villa. There's some surprising things going on. QPR are 2-0 up against Sunderland and Liverpool 2-1 up against Tottenham. We have a QPR fan. I have a full load of banter about how QPR can't exist without Charlie Austin. And
you can still say it, though, because it's only one game if they win this.
But it's their first away win.
They're going to be
in February when the season finishes in May.
And no Harry. No Harry.
OK, well, we'll get on to that in a minute. And we've just had an equaliser, by the way, for Spurs as well. So we will keep you updated with that. But as we're moving through, we will keep you updated with these scores. Next topic to get onto is Leicester. Now, I know Twitter, well, the stories on Twitter and the truth are actually miles apart a lot of the time. But it says a lot when Nigel Pearson has been sacked on Twitter, at least. Obviously, he hasn't been. But let's talk about the fact that Leicester are bottom of the league. They have been bottom of the league for, I think, the last 11 seasons around, this sort of time. And also that he was not charged by the FA.
That's baffling. I don't know who his lawyer is. I don't know how. I don't know if he's got any friends. I don't know if he's got any friends on the board, but that's ridiculous.
So he had...
Altercation, we could say.
Yeah, but it was
had an altercation with fans earlier in the season as well.
He did. I think that altercation with fans, I feel a bit... at the end of the day, if someone's shouting abuse at you, the likelihood is you'll probably shout back. But as a manager, you should know better. But this is a stretch too far.
I mean, it shows, like, where's the line? I mean, we've had that Alan Pardew towards the end of last season. Yeah. I mean, there has to be a rule set. I mean, we always talk about incidents. You don't know the line until you cross it.
Yeah,
Pardew was a very extreme level where he got, was it 8 match ban?
Games or something.
Yeah, so games where he couldn't even be in the stadium to then not be in the pitch side. Like, if you put your head into someone's body, that's a red card on the pitch. If you're manhandling a player, no matter where it is on the pitch, it should be...
There's a picture of him around the neck. And also MacArthur said that he did feel threatened. Obviously, he felt threatened. Yeah. I mean, it was sort of pointed out that it was in jest and in banter. That's a ridiculous state. When a manager gets to a situation where he's got a player around the neck from the opposite side of the team and the FA go, that's all right.
Yeah, but why is it okay for Pearson and why was it so bad for Pardew? I mean, I know you could argue there are differences in what actually happened, but it's the same principle. You're putting your hands on someone else.
I mean, Pardew was very aggressive, and we obviously didn't hear the tone in which, but I think the fact that you put your hands around someone's neck, it doesn't matter whether it was done in jest or not. The point is you're doing that in front of a large-scale audience.
I think Pearson mentioned in his press conference before there was a bit of a history with the player as well. I believe he tried to sign the player.
To be fair, he said that it wasn't actually the player's fault.
But he said it wasn't his fault. It was the opposing manager who caused it. So, there might have been something there, but...
Yeah, it's just a laughable excuse. And then I don't know what's funnier, that or the Twitter reaction for him to get fired. But that's probably like a prelude of what could happen in a few weeks if Leicester are still in the relegation zone.
I mean, Leicester likely, let's talk about their form. I mean, it's not been that successful. Leicester at the bottom. It doesn't look like there's going to be much change. What do we think with Leicester? I mean, realistically, Nigel Pearson is not going to be there at the end of the season, is he?
If they were going to sack him, they should have sacked him at the beginning of January and given someone the month of January to compile their transfer window, try and make one last push for survival. But to sack him now, somebody's got to turn water into wine. It's not going to happen.
Well, when I think of Leicester this season, the only thing I think of is the United game. One thing, and that was the only time I saw. They play good football, and I know.
But United perhaps are tired. United aren't exactly in a position where they're doing very well. I know you're the only United.
I only wanted to bring that up because Rob's here. That's
okay.
why.
We'll get onto this quickly. What do you think about Van Gaal bringing out his little diagram?
Fantastic.
Oh right.
Fantastic. don't let them keep you down. No, he made his point.
Yeah.
He made his point. Yeah.
They don't play long balls.
We play long pass. We play long pass. We play it diagonally.
Well,
don't play it forward.
I think a couple of years ago we had Rafa's facts, didn't we? And now we've got Van Gaal's stats.
Yeah.
Honestly, what was that about?
No, because I think he was a bit annoyed by Sam Allardyce.
I think he may have been a little bit
He
annoyed.
must. I'm pretty sure it hit a nerve, so he came with.
Oh, Big Sam's a long ball specialist, isn't he?
Maybe just wanted to say, can I borrow your notes like you do at your university? Can I borrow your notes to keep us in the top half of the table?
Now, just talking just briefly on this, obviously we've not got much to talk about Chelsea at the moment. They're enjoying their success. But also Mourinho said to the BBC that the reason he kept his mouth stum was because he was annoyed with them. And I thought that was quite interesting because obviously BBC just reporting as they saw it. That's quite fascinating.
He said that's the only person he spoke to on the weekend, isn't
it?
it?
He refused because basically he believed that they were trying to get...
Costa banned.
Yeah. Good things though, like... Everyone's going to have their opinion, but if you can physically see someone stamp on you or stamp on a player, why is he trying to deny it? At least accept it and then just take whatever punishment comes his way.
Just do what Wenger does. He didn't see it.
Wenger doesn't see a lot, but he's been around for like a good 15 years at Arsenal, and I think a lot of things get missed.
So let's draw us back into this. Obviously, Leicester playing against Arsenal. Arsenal have scored, and Theo Walcott scored as well, which is pretty impressive because he's not really been in the game as much as obviously they would have liked. I mean, overall, we will talk to Kenny Ken at the end of this, and I know he'll sing Arsenal's praises, but let's be honest, Arsenal are still massively disappointing from where they should be, aren't they?
I don't think they'll make top four this season.
I don't think they'll be... No, they'll make it. They're not being massively disappointed from where they should be. They're around fourth.
That's our first for them, isn't it?
Yeah. They're around fourth. Chelsea and Man City are better than them. At the moment, there's not a lot between points-wise, there's not a lot between Southampton, Man U, Arsenal, Tottenham.
There's going to be a fight, and I kind of see that at the end it will probably sort itself out, and Arsenal will take its sort of regular place at fourth. But a side that relies heavily on players like Mertesacker are really asking for trouble, do you not think?
They're asking for trouble if they want to win the league, of course. If they want to win the league, then they're not where they should be. They're nowhere near where they should be. But if they want to finish fourth, they're fine.
And in terms of their tactics still they just really haven't picked themselves up. They were playing too deep against Spurs on the weekend. I mean, it just seems like Wenger just hasn't got the power to instill tactical knowledge into these players.
Worked against Man City.
But you have to change your game up. I mean, you can always argue that every season that, okay, one of their key players goes injured and it changes their season, but you've got a squad behind you. You can't just rely on one player. I mean, I think last season they were saying the scapegoat was Ramsey, who started off really well, and then he obviously got injured. Seasons in the past with Van Persie and other players, Walcott, you could even use as an example, but you can't rely on it. If that's a trend that you have at a club, then there's a serious problem if you're relying on one player.
They don't have a plan B.
That's exactly it. That pretty much sums it up. They have no plan B. They barely have a plan A, and when it gets to plan B, they're just stuck.
Do you want to know about? There's no hierarchy there.
Yeah,
they've got a lot of interchangeable people. So you can't tell the difference between.
They've got no leadership.
No leadership.
I think that's a really interesting point. There is no hierarchy. There's no hierarchy of players.
Exactly.
Either,
so if Walsh is there, or Ramsey, or Chamberlain, it doesn't matter. They're all the same. They're all pretty much the same. There's no standout apart from Sanchez.
I think they've got like 15 midfielders or 11 midfielders, or something silly like that. It's like
and like you said, all the players are much of a muchness, similar gameplay. Interesting. Well, we will move on from that because we will be back talking to Kenny Ken about Arsenal at around about 10 minutes before the end of our show. But we've got QPR to talk about, all my Charlie Austin banter. We're going to be talking about Harry Kane. He has obviously made the headlines, certainly impressed. At Burnley, we'll be talking about as well and we'll be getting on to Manchester United and a little bit of the paperwork that comes with Manchester United. So do stick with us. Keep your tweets coming in. We'd love to hear from you. We'll see you after the break.
Are you a special one? Have you got what it takes?